Our final presentation on the NHL. I'm Justin McKenzie.
I'm Hugh O'Donnell.
I'm Stephen Lockwood.
I'm Pat Hasseltine.
I'm Nickel Blank.
And I'm Dennis King.
Background on the league. The NHL stands for the National Hockey League. This league is currently made up of two conferences, 15 teams in each conference. The first conference is the Eastern Conference along the east coast of North America, and the second conference is the Western Conference on the west coast. The owner and commissioner of the NHL is Gary Bettman, and the league headquarters, where they handle everything from rules, replays, and Gary Bettman's offices there is in New York City. The league started with just 6 teams, and they called it the Original Six. The league was formed in 1946, and the first 6 teams were the Boston Bruins, the Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the New York Rangers, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Chicago Blackhawks. History of race in the NHL. It was not until 1958 that the NHL was fully integrated. Prior to this integration, the National Hockey League claims that they were never racist, and in fact, they did allow players of any nationality to play in the league. It's just that none tried. Like they didn't. If they had the skill set, they would have been able to. They just didn't get a good black population in the league. The NHL prior to this got most of their players from Canada, in which there's not a very good black population for the sport anyway. And this being the case, until this date, there was never a demand of any other race to play in this league. The first black NHL player that stepped on the ice was Willie O'Ree of the Boston Bruins. On January 18th, he played his first game in an Original Six matchup versus the Montreal Canadiens. And this was he was known as the Jackie Robinson of hockey for this, and it was just a heroic moment, like breaking the color barrier for the NHL as a league. The breakdown of race in the NHL. For a very long time, the game of hockey has been and still is known as a predominantly white sport. The league is currently at 93% to 7% ratio between players who distinguish themselves as white with black. The 93% of white players was always more than 50% Canadian, but within the past few years or so, the percentage of Canadian players has dropped below 50% for the first time in a while. Although the NHL still has very low numbers, when it comes to black players, its breakdown by country is becoming greater every season as it progresses. The 2017 season, this is the breakdown by country, and there was 451 Canadians, 256 from USA, 91 from Sweden, 42 from Russia, 39 from Finland, 38 from the Czech, 15 Switzerland, and 13 from Slovakia. And we have 2 videos here. The first one's on Willie O'Ree, he's the first black player to ever play for the Bruins.
Baseball has Jackie Robinson. Hockey has Willie O'Ree. O'Ree broke hockey's color barrier on January 18, 1958, when he was recalled from the minor league Quebec Aces to dress for the Boston Bruins in a game against Montreal. O'Ree played in one more game that season and saw action in 43 matches the following year, 1960-61. While he wasn't accepted immediately at the start of his brief NHL career, O'Ree's work ethic and personality allowed those around him to see past the color of his skin. After he hung up his skates, O'Ree continued to be a great ambassador for the sport he loves.
And then the next video is on PK Subban, who's a current black player in the NHL, and he just gives his take on race in the NHL as a league.
I mean, there aren't that many black hockey players in the National Hockey League. There aren't. And there's still racism going out there, and you know the impact that it has when you see a person of color who takes on this position. Well, I mean, how does that feel?
I've been playing on hockey since I was, 2.5, 3 years old. I've been playing hockey, and there's been a number of those incidents, and they're just stupid people, really. To be honest with you, hockey's filled with great people, and it's a great sport, and I encourage a lot of people to play it because of the relationships that you make in hockey, and those are the things that I'd rather talk about than all those other things, because they're just ignorant people.
The soccer player today just came up with how they said that, if someone throws a banana on the field when he's out there, he's going to go to jail for murder because he's going to kill him. Like, that's how deeply offended he will
So
be.
you know the way I approach it? I probably just pick it up and eat it. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, you know what I mean? I just pick it up and eat it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. To be honest with you, when people do that, like, I'm at the point now where I have black friends, I have white friends, I have clear friends, I have purple friends, I have yellow friends, like, nobody cares.
You might want to get your purple friends to see a doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm going to talk about the economics of hockey. First of all, with the globalization of hockey, for the top 10 countries that have hockey in their system and are a majority in the Olympics most of the time, America, Canada, Sweden, Switzerland, Russia, Finland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Germany, and Latvia. It shows that it's a wide stretch and hockey is around the world and a very global game, and they're trying to stretch it out even more. One of the things is now they're coming to Africa a little bit. They became a first league in Africa now. One of the things that hockey is really invested and brings to the love of the fans and players all around is not just the love of the game, but the violence and the high speed that it takes in the game. The pure competitiveness that each player brings to the game brings in fans, and that's why the attendance average is at 17,000, almost 800 in 2014, and it's going up and up each and every year. With that, also making the game even better by changing rules. Before, it used to be that you can end in a tie, and now they don't want to end in a tie anymore, so it makes it more exciting and more interesting for the fans. One of the pure economic points is the sponsorships. A huge amount of revenue comes in from sponsorships. Just in 2014-2015 season, it was almost around $450 million, which is a huge amount of revenue that has come in. For the NHL, there's about 19 different corporate sponsors for just the NHL by itself, and not only for each and every team, just for the NHL as a whole, such as like Pepsi as the pure pure soda for the league, and Canadian leagues have 11 sponsorship partners. For this picture right here, it shows what type of industry or company would go in and invest in an NHL team. So we have, for the most part, quick service restaurants are the top company to go in for them. Income for the NHL, it was estimated around $4.1 billion for this past season, and obviously the sponsorships are a huge revenue for that, and the gate receipts are about 36.5% of all revenue. Obviously a huge part is the TV revenue with $200 million annually with their new 10-year contract with NBC Sports, and the concessions are also a huge revenue booster. Now, what also works with the economics is the economic downfalls of hockey. In the past few years, there's been 4 lockouts, totaling 30 games in 1992. In 1994, about 468 games were canceled in a 103-day lockout. And the worst one ever in 2004-2005 was loss of a whole season, which was the first ever North American league to lose a full season and lose all their revenue from that season. In 2012, right after the biggest loss, was a 526 game cancellation, which ended 2004-2005 season. It was estimated about $200 million revenue loss.
So on a social class for just hockey in general, a lot of people like wonder why like the poor like cities and everything, a lot of people don't come from there. It's because hockey's more of an expensive sport compared to other ones. just for registration fees for just like youth hockey, like town leagues that like all ages and all skill levels are let in, is like 600 to 2,000, and that's like a lot of money each year, over and over and over. Just on itself, per year, there's about $1,500 of hockey expenses. Just that's for like gas and just like for new sticks as they break and so on and so on. To play like the highest level of hockey as you go on, it's about $8,000 to $16,000 dollars a year to play like the highest caliber with the best kids and the best coaches, and that's the way most of the kids that grow up to play at a professional level are playing in these $16,000 range, and even up more for private trainers and all that. You can see here on StoreFi, I found a quote that says, "Cost of hockey equipment is more than double the cost of equipment of the next closest youth sport." That just shows like just the amount of equipment even is more than in pretty much any other sport you can find. Football, you got your helmet, shoulder pads, and like a couple like knee pads, but they all come in one pants. Hockey, you got everything from skates, shin pads, pants, elbow pads, shoulder pads, helmet, neck guard, and there's so many other things you can add on, especially when you're younger, to make it safer. Here you can see where it kind of breaks down. Registration fees per year average $748. Hockey camps, if you want to do that over the summer to help you get better, $323, and it goes down until you get to other. But about per year, you're going to spend almost $3,000 on just kind of the basic stuff when you're not even trying to improve to that next level and go on to the next thing where you can get better and better. And those are the types of things that it takes a lot of money and commitment, and where you kind of see how social class affects, where the more money you have, the more availability you have to better programs and all that and whatnot.
So now we're going to talk about gender in hockey. So as you can see here, the NHL is strictly a men's hockey league. There's 31 teams as of next year, with roughly 23 players on each roster, which comes out to 700 players in all men's. And then you can see down here that there's a new league. It's called the NWHL, which is the National Women's Hockey League as well. Consists of 4 teams, and it's roughly around 100 players. And if you go to the next slide. This is USA Hockey. So there's been a little controversy on USA Hockey and men's and women's. So basically what happened was the women's felt that they did not get equal pay to the men. So when they were going out for the IHF tournament this year, they boycotted it, and they said they weren't going to play because they didn't make any money. And as you can see here, for the men, the minimum contract is $650,000, and they spend about $3.5 million on the development of the boys hockey program. So I know USA Hockey has a USHL team, which the elite 23 players in the world in the United States will go. They'll get developed. They'll eventually go to college and then to the NHL. And for women, you can see they were asking for $68,000, as well as childcare, maternity leave, and other things. And the difference is they get more money on if they win gold or silver in the Olympics. So it's roughly between $150,000 for silver to up to $250,000 for gold per player.
So in terms of the participation and the opportunities in hockey for the different genders, for youth hockey, it depends on the state. In Massachusetts, youth hockey participation stands around 7,000, with 20% of that being female, 80% being male. In the D1 collegiate area of hockey, the men's have over 13 conferences, including the Hockey East, the ECAC, and the NCHC. Women only have about 5 to 7 conferences, so that's a big factor, big difference between men and women. And on the other hand, in the Olympics, the most recent Winter Olympics, the men had 12 different nations playing hockey, when the women had 14 different countries playing hockey. In Canada, the women hockey participation, as seen by the graph, has gone down drastically since 1991. Why? Because now, in today's age, hockey's getting a lot more expensive. And also, when you think of hockey, you think of it as a male-dominated physical sport. And that stereotype can lead to why the women hockey participation in Canada is going down. And also, most of the time, you don't hear about women's hockey when you're watching SportsCenter or you're reading it in the newspaper or any social media.
So, media and hockey. So, interesting fact is the first hockey game that was broadcasted on the radio was on February 8th, 1923. And the first hockey game televised was on October 11th, 1952, and it was between the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers. The NHL with NBC made a deal for a 10-year, $2 million. You can also follow hockey on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. There are about 50 million fans on NHL. The NHL's main broadcast station is the NHL Network, and it's like the it's on the NHL Network. It's like SportsCenter or like ESPN just for hockey. Yeah.
And that's our works cited page.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you for watching.
That's where we cite our work.